Very good morning to you on this friendly Friday morning. It is the 24th of October, and if you've joined us, you are on the fifth connection, where we talk you through the storyline of the scriptures, because the story is what forges the flow of meaning. And this morning we are in Ephesians chapter 4 and verse number 25. I'm sure you've heard it said that you don't get it until you're in it. You don't get it until you're in it. And that idiomatic expression has to do with your and my not knowing what a thing or a situation really tastes like until we walk in the same shoes, until we are going through the same or similar experiences. Ephesians chapter 4, the whole chapter is about how theory works out in practice. Theory-laden practice is what chapter 1, 2, and 3 is about. 4, 5, and 6 is practice-laden theory. These two things function together. They aren't two separate entities. That's why one of the better ways to learn, I would argue the best way to learn, is in the trenches of what is really real versus purely in the benches and theorizing over life and living. You are at the rock face and you are tasting what is really real. Your taste buds, your senses are bristling every inch of the way as you drink in what you are going through. The first 24 verses in the chapter talk through how that unity is fostered when believers pursue truth together. In the process of pursuing perspectival and participatory knowing, what we call dispositional knowing, out of that rises propositional knowing. And propositional knowing is not really the end game. It should be the starting point. You don't end with propositions and think you've got it all. Propositions help us understand what the currency of knowing looks like, because propositions need to point back to a process of knowing. How did you get there? Why do you believe what you really believe? Why do you live what you don't really believe? And why don't you live what you really do believe? So now in verse number 25, he picks up the practice. He has explained the precept of dying and rising, of dropping and dressing, of putting on and putting off. The putting on and putting off has to do with being severed from egoic attachments that tie us ideologically to life and living. And we get strapped in a way as if running down a narrow corridor. You try to run, you lose your balance, and you smash into the sides of the walls. Many live their life like that, absolutely dangerously. But verse 25 starts out with therefore, and at least 5 times throughout the chapter, 4 times to be exact, therefore appears. Verse 1, verse number 8, verse number 17, and then in verse number 25, gives us 5 paragraphs that present us with the flow of the story, because the flow of the story, listen to me now, is what forges the meaning. It forges the meaning of the line, of the verse, of the word, and words in the story. What we call context. Context determines meaning. What does that mean? Well, you have to grapple with, in the flow of the story, what the writer intends by using words strung in a particular way in a sentence and then put into paragraphs in the way he does it. It's called authorial intention. What is the author's intention for raising the therefore in verse 25? Verse 25 says, therefore, having put away falsehood, let each one of you speak the truth with his neighbor, for we are members one of another. Now, you and I, in our practices of the Christian life, we need to learn to die into life. Not to dive, D-I-E. To die into life, because dying into the life is the movement from conception of ideas, conception to concretion. Those in the land of the free would pronounce this as concretion. But we are flat-footed British types. So we say concretion. We are to be dying into life because that's the movement from conception to concretion. God doesn't want us to live purely at a conceptual level where we are just thinking stuff. But it needs to be lived out in the context of the real world, because you ain't gonna get it until you're in it. Remember that line. You won't get it until you're in it. And some things you can't see because your level of transformation does not afford you the luxury to see beyond your level of transform. And that's why you need to constantly be knowing and growing and going. Not sit, soak, and sour, but know, go, and grow. Wake up in order to show up. In chapter 5, the writer is very clear. Awake, O sleeper, arise from the dead, and Christ will give you light. Oh, so many Christians are born asleep. They aren't awake to what God is doing in their life. They have taken a soporific drug. They are sleepwalkers. Have you ever walked in your sleep? Oh, some of us talk in our sleep. Others of us snore in our sleep. But many are sleepwalking. They ain't living in the context of what is real. And this text says, therefore, being rid of that which is not real. Because that is what putting away falsehood is all about. Get rid of what is not real. Don't live there. Don't live in the unreal, the world of unreality. Put away falsehood. Oh, our world is trapped by fake news and propaganda and lies, because it's easy to believe lies. What makes me highly adaptive also makes me highly deceptive. For those of us who are given to high adaptation, we run a risk because we could so easily be duped in the midst of being highly adaptive. That's why you constantly need to be grounded in base reality, grounded in the scriptures, grounded firm and deep in the Savior's love, because it's his love that affords you choices. What are the choices about? Optionality. Ways of being and moving in this world with high attentiveness and high, are you listening? High creativity. You get the impression some Christians are born dead. That when they trusted Christ, they did up major head damage. Some have permanent head damage because they've got PhDs. Permanent head damage. Others of us have THDs, temporary head damage. But how about having an open mind that is not so open that your brains fall out, but that you are alert, you are a lifelong learner, and there are levels of risk that you need to take because faith involves risk. Be rid of that which is not real. Let each one of you articulate what is really real. Let each one of you speak what? The truth. Oh, we live in a world that is redefining what truth is and how truth is perceived. So there's no such thing as truth. And we think that any tomfool, listen to me, tomfool idea that comes into our head is truth. That's not what it is about. We all have our own perspectives because we come at similar things or same things from different angles. So it's not just any tomfool idea that takes flight and gives rise to brilliance. I think most often it gives rise to stupidity. It gives rise to us being numbskulls. You know the German word, Dumpfkopf, right? Numbskull. Let each one of you speak the truth. Articulate what is really real. With whom? With his neighbor. Who are those? Articulate what is really real with those in proximity to you, those close to you. Start talking to them about what is really real. Not talk shop, not talk about the weather 24/7, but talk about what is really real. What eats you? It's not only about what you eat, it's also about what eats you and eats at you. For we are members one of another. We belong to the same proximal zone. We live in the same space. We live in similar spaces. You do, I do too. I have the same feet of clay you have. I get challenged by the same things you get challenged with. How to behave across 24 hours of a given day. You wrestle with the same thing, don't you? You have the same duration of time, 24 hours. So do I. 60 minutes to every hour, 60 seconds to every minute. We belong to the same proximal zone. We are members one of another. Therefore, having gotten rid of that which is not real, let's be awake so that we can speak each one, we can articulate what is really real with those in proximity to us, for we belong to the same proximal zone. That's what life and living is about. Some of us live in an absolute dream, but we are designed for emergence. We are designed to grow, not to stagnate. Believers have been saved to know God, and then service will flow. Not saved to serve, because you've lost a key component, knowing the source of all being, knowing God. You are designed for emergence, because an egg, unless it links up with a sperm and fertilizes, it then teams up in such a way that it can attach inside of a female womb. And that womb belongs to a mom. And that mom belongs to a dad or is attached to a dad. And that dad is attached to his family. And that family is attached to the society. And so we go on and on and on. We are designed for emergence. Our goal is autopoiesis. Our goal is mutual edification, because that's what this chapter is talking about. God didn't save you to sit, soak, and sour and be baptized in vinegar. But He saved you to know Him and experience what it means to really live on the jagged edge of life, where there is great excitement, but also great turbulence. I live right here in the bay, Gordon's Bay, and we are close to the sea. To watch the waves break on the seashore has a calming effect on your soul. But at the same time, it is a picture of what stormy weather looks like in a split second. The congealing of that water with the sand and the foaming of those waves. The goal is edification, dying into life, moving from conception to concretion, living out what is really real. And here the first one, put away falsehood. Get rid of living out what is not really real. Where are you living your life on this Friday morning? Are you bouncing from one crisis to the next and all you can do is moan? Yes, you heard me, moan and groan. And maybe that is part of your repertoire and you really have a hard time getting rid of it. Now, some of you may be in the throes of depression and you can't kick it and you may need some medical assistance. But that is not where God has designed that we live our lives permanently. He still wants us to experience Him as our life. I come that you may have life. Yes, really live. That's what John 10:10 says. Really live. You ain't living until you've met the Savior. I had a personal experience and continue in experiencing Him. If you haven't experienced Him, you ain't living at all. I trust that as you go into this Friday morning, you'll experience Him and you learn something of what it means to die into life. Slowly but surely, dying to your own aspirations, seeing God sever you by the power of the cross from your ego attachments, which are multiple. Could be your family, your partner, your friend, your money, your children, your job, and the like. Be on the lookout for an opportunity to enjoy God today. Goodbye for now.